Good morning, everybody. This is Filippo Lanza, the CIO of Newman, and I'm here to give you an update on the Hedge Invest Newman Credit Fund for the month of October. October was a very volatile market, very difficult market, where we see a decent amount of correction on the equity indexes, which we think is just a bit of an appetizer of what we will see over the next 6 months. Our macro bearish trades and long tail hedges work particularly well on the equity side, especially on put spread on Russell, put spread on S&P. But unfortunately, we're very disappointing for what comes down to be call option on Treasury, out of the money, call option on Sterling LIBOR, and other credit shorts overall that we had, especially on periphery. So overall, the macro bucket, which was supposed or expected in our view in this market condition to produce close to 1.5–2%, unfortunately only produced a little bit more than 60 basis points. So the disappointment came specifically from credit Europe and credit periphery. Credit was very strong during the month of October. We think it's just a temporary effect. QE is over in Europe. I think the only tools left are OMT and ESM, which basically means ESM, because OMT only would come after that. And we see plenty of cracks in the European construct, and we see plenty of issues on the global GDP picture, and specifically for Europe, we see a lot of we see a bit of a getting over a cliff in terms of performance. On the financials, we had a bit of an accident with the Spanish ruling on the tax on the mortgages. That ruling was, completely denied effectively by the Supreme Court in this week, and so obviously the Spanish banks will come back. Obviously, it is contributing to a pretty strong performance already for the beginning of the month. We are up close to 50 basis points for the month. At the same time, obviously, the periphery shorts we had against didn't work, but we kept them, and if anything, we are adding to that because we do expect plenty of issues with periphery. Away from that, on corporates, the main disappointing factor for us was our deep value credit short in size with a much smaller long on equity. Names like Bayer, Vodafone, Altice, that equity capital structure trade didn't work. I think it's only temporary again. We have shorts on perpetuals, say names like Vodafone, where the yield is 3%, while the dividend yield is around 10%. Obviously, those are discrepancies that will come back, and we think credit hasn't really gone through like a proper sell-off, but it will come, and I think just a matter of time. Is building up clearly. Our view remains extremely negative, extremely bearish, very worried about liquidity, very worried about the periphery picture, very worried about trade war, which we think will escalate in a cold war very soon, probably this side of the year. And then we're very worried about valuation in credit, specifically for Europe, but in general, fixed income security. So we added over the month, and even this month, we've been adding to our long tail hedges, and we think December could be quite volatile, quite illiquid. If trade war escalates, it could be otherwise a relatively good month with a year-end rally if trade war de-escalates. But then over time, we do see global slowdown coming up and being much more evident over the next few months, liquidity picking up with quantitative tightening. So overall, the market for us is pretty capped. On the upside, it's capped by quantitative tightening and the liquidity absorption and withdrawal by the central banks, whether it's ECB, Fed, possibly Bank of Japan in January. And on the other side, obviously, there is no flow really on the downside if trade war really deteriorates and escalates with the Trump-Xi meeting at the end of November and potentially retaliation and reaction from China, which could span over an array of options from devaluation to capital controls, to stimulus, to intervention directly on treasury market and equity market. So on this note, I thank you again, and I hope to be able to update you early in December for the month of November. Thank you very much for your time and attention.